All right, welcome in. Adrios Talk Sports. We are talking about Ohio State football. We're still in the off season for Ohio State football. This is according to The Athletic. What are Ohio State football's 5 biggest off-season questions? The number one question, what is going to happen with the quarterback battle? I know there's, 3, I think. So Will Howard's gone. Will Howard was expected to win the quarterback battle against Devin Brown. And then now Will Howard is out of there. And then before that was Kyle McCord and all that stuff. So who's going to be getting the nod for the starting quarterback position? Because we have Julian Sayin. Now he's the favorite, the number one quarterback in the 2024 class. He was a third-string quarterback last year over Keinholz, and Day went out of his way to get Sayin playing time in garbage time of games so far this past season. But Sayin is only 5 of 12 with 84 yards and a touchdown. So then we got the true freshman in the 2025 class, Tevion St. Clair, and they're going to be battling it up. Then there's, I believe, another guy, but they have a quarterback coach, a new quarterback coach, Billy Fessler, and they have their work cut out for them this offseason. But they do have a lot of young talent. Number 2, can Ohio State find the answers on the defensive line? This is the biggest question on defense. Ohio State's 2024-2025 season on defense can be broken down into 3 parts. There was the pre-Oregon time, there was the post-Oregon time, and then when Ohio State got beat by Michigan. Ohio State have been blitzed 60% of snaps, and against Purdue, 53% against Northwestern. So in the college football playoff run, Ohio State's blitz rate was just 14.1%. Yet it tallied 18 sacks in those 4 games, the most in a 4-game stretch in the offseason. And then there are 2 things Ohio State needs to figure out with the new defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia. How much it wants to blitz and who can lead the stock pass rush this season. Who's going to be on the edge? Although it's going to be hard to equal the JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer and what they brought to the table, so they combined 115 pressures, and Sawyer led the team with 64. And then Kenyatta Jackson Jr., he did make headlines a few years ago in spring practice and had a good season even if he was a backup. He had 17 pressures and 189 pass rush snaps. Then we had Caden Curry, will be the other defensive end. Curry had 13 pressures and 131 passing rushing snaps. So people on the edge and all the defensive line, they're going to have to step their game up. Also, number 3, can the transfers get acclimated quickly on the offensive line? So I know we had one of the outstanding performers on the line was Luke Montgomery. And then some positive things. Carson Hintzman, Tegra Shabola, and Austin Searveld. And they're all back. And they'll compete for the 3 interior positions, which leaves the tackle battles. So the transfers are the likely favorites. But players like Montgomery, Ian Moore, and Deontay Armstrong, true freshman Carter Lowe, and a few others will get some reps there as well. So they're probably going to be, switching around with Tyler Bowen in as a new offensive line coach. He's got his work cut out for him too. And see what happens on the offensive line and the defensive line. Number 4, how much does Ohio State's passing attack grow with Brian Hartline calling the plays? Now, obviously, if you've been living under a rock, Brian Hartline has been moved up from wide receiver coach to the offensive coordinator, and I still believe he's going to be the wide receiver coach as well. So he's got the offense, he's calling plays, and he's still working with the wide receivers. So in the win against Tennessee and Oregon, the Buckeyes threw for more than 300 yards in back-to-back games, and they looked unstoppable, which they did. And Day was a big part of that influencing in the planning room. But Hartline's influence was an underrated part of Ohio State's growth. So I'm kind of wanting to know, now that Hartline's going to get the reins, how's the offensive playbook going to look? It might look pretty sweet. That's all I'm going to say. His Hartline's been there for a while. He knows his players. He knows the players that are coming in. Also, another side note, Hartline does recruiting as well. He's a freaking recruiting specialist. He's a beast at recruiting. Love him. He's awesome. Played wide receiver for Ohio State back in the day. Dude's a freaking beast. So I'd expect the Ohio State offense to look really, really good. Now the defense could be a little skeptical, but hopefully we can see what happens because we're going to get into some recruiting and who we've been talking to and what scholarship offers are going on as well. And number 5, who emerges at the running back position? So TreVeyon Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, they're gone. And they accounted for over 2,100 yards of Ohio State's 2,662 yards rushing last season. So they combined with 24 touchdowns. They got true freshman James Peoples that's going to be there. And he only had 2 of that 24 touchdowns, by the way. So he is the favorite, the number 8 running back in a 2024 class. He has shown flashiness. He's averaged 4 yards per carry with only 49 carries last season. And then we also got the transfer. We talked about him last week. West Virginia transfer C.J. Donaldson. He had 234 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 4.4 yards per carry. And with that offensive line battle that they're going to be doing the tackles and the guards, we just talked about all that. So I think they're going to be a two-headed spear with Peoples and Donaldson, and there's another one out there too, I believe. There's another running back. They got Bo Jackson as well. Ohio State has been known to have elite running backs each and every year, which they usually do, and that also it comes with a good offensive line. And the Buckeyes had Trey Sermon in 2020 and J.K. Dobbins in 2019. So this is a crucial offseason for Ohio State and the running backs, as we're trying to emerge, as Ryan Day emerges as one that probably could possibly go down as one of the greater Ohio State Buckeyes coaches of all time. Dare I say that, when we were just talking about his job back in November, going back to back losses against the team up north. But who knows what's going to happen? Can Day get his team going and get these players going and get all these recruiting? Because they have recruiting gurus at Ohio State and coaching. Larry Johnson going to stay there as a defensive line too? I think he will, even though he's like 70 years old. So don't even look towards that as the recruits come in. It's just one after another. We get the best top elite players in the country each and every year. And obviously, I think Day has turned the corner of producing his talent, because that was the one thing for me that I didn't think he was doing very well. But when they had that other loss to Michigan, I think they just turned up that juice, and I just keep it. I hope they keep it going. All right, next topic of conversation: which Ohio State football player will improve the most in 2025? And we were just talking about Luke Montgomery. And then there's a possibility that, Luke Montgomery will be the most improved Ohio State football player in 2025. Will he be? He has emerged as a starter during the latter part of the season. He was inserted at a left guard, ended up playing ahead of Austin Searveld. We've named these names already, and it was the right call. The offensive line coach did make the right call. The Buckeyes will be replacing 3 starters from last year's offensive line, and Montgomery will be at the left guard spot. So Ohio State football program might have one more coaching change. Will former Ohio State QB Justin Fields be a starter in the NFL next season? This Ohio State football can raise his draft stock with a good combine performance, and assessing Jake Deaver's performance in his first year so far leading Ohio State. So they're always looking at Luke Montgomery here, according to this article on Scarlet and Game. Ryan Steno just wrote this. This is kind of older. It's about 3 or 4 days old. But they had just 15 players get invited to the NFL Combine. So this is 15 starters who they need to replace. So it's going to be tough ass for Coach Day, and see what they do on the offseason and bringing in these new recruits, bringing in these new players. And I want to know another thing too, a side note. How much are they going to be paying on NIL deals? And is it going to be the top in the country? Because we weren't the top last year, but everybody wants to talk about the $20 million that we spent on NIL. But Texas paid more, by the way. And now we're going to talk into transitioning into our recruiting class so far. We're talking about the 2026 cycle. Ohio State sets the visit with number 1 safety, which they probably already did. I got to get this updated. This just happened on February 19th, so it was 2 days ago. It is the 21st. So Ohio State is setting to see number 1 Blaine Bradford for the 2026 class. This is according to the reports here. Bradford is considered the top-ranked player at the safety position of the 2026 class, is according to an average consensus of the 4 national recruiting services. LSU remains the overwhelming favorite to sign Bradford. This is according to On3 Sports recruiting prediction machine. But who knows? You never know what these players are going to do. So Bradford currently has a 95.9% chance to commit to Brian Kelly and the Tigers, according to that metric. Now, Alabama's distant with a 1.1%. But rivals went further, giving LSU a 100% chance to sign the player of a Baton Rouge Catholic. Quote, "They are the hometown team," Bradford has said of LSU. Quote, "They have a program that is built up. That 2025 class coming in is great too, and LSU has real potential." So Ohio State just lost defensive coordinator Jim Knowles going to Penn State. He hired the NFL coordinator Matt Patricia. We already know that. Now, Bradford has no predictions currently listed on a 24/7 Sports crystal ball, so we have no clue where he's going to go. But hopefully we can get him at Ohio State, number 1 safety out there. Now we have another one. This is a high 4-star Georgia defensive end, has Ohio State as a top of his list, coming out of Thomasville, Georgia. Thomas County Central is one of the top overall prospects. Defensive edge Cam Brooks. And this is viewed as a mutual respect. Ohio State wants him, and he wants to come to Ohio State. And I'm really excited about this one because I hope we get the big boys coming in on the edge. We need a good edge rusher, good high 4-star athlete. So that it doesn't really say much more about him on here. It's just a little teaser from Cam Brooks. So hopefully we can get him on and sign him and get him to at least verbally commit. Now, the country's number 5 corner, extremely happy about Ohio State scholarship offer. I just told you that we're going to talk about some scholarship offers. So the Buckeyes continue to add to their possibilities of the 2026 class. So on Wednesday, so this just happened the other day, but this is an updated, this is only 4 hours old, by the way. So on Wednesday, Ohio State cornerbacks coach Tim Walton extended a scholarship offer to cornerback Jordan Edmonds out of Marietta, Georgia, Sprayberry. Now, Edmonds, the scholarship offer from the Buckeyes was not a complete shock as he had been Ohio State number 1, and that's what he wanted to play for. So that hopefully we're going to get him, and he said that he's wanting to play for us, and we do have him as a commit. So at least we have some top corners and safety possibly coming, which the dude Jordan Edmonds will be coming. So there is your recruiting class. There is the players to watch, up-and-comers, players that are going to be starting on the line, and how's the defensive line is going to be, how our coaches are going to be, and more to come next week. Going to probably do a little, we might do 2 different type of like Ohio State and then transition over into Cincinnati Reds because we're going to do baseball here soon because spring training is starting. And then how about that USA versus Canada game? Now that was a battle, wasn't it? I know we're technically 1-1. We're technically 1-1 on that. So I would like to see another game be played for a best-of-3 series because technically, like I said, we're tied. Anyway, I digress. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Love you guys. God bless. Tip the waitress.